Welcome everyone. My name is Stuart. Today we are going to be looking at CTRM Castor Maritime. This will be a little bit different than maybe the other stock videos you're used to. First, we're going to dive into this quick analysis that George Lucas put together. We'll then look at our social sentiment dashboard on Utradea, see what stood out about CTRM recently, and then we will wrap up by looking at the stock itself and see where it's headed in the near future. Just before I jump in, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Love getting feedback on the videos, helps me make them better in the future. If there's anything else you want to see about Castor Maritime, drop a note, let me know. Happy to do more of a deep dive. Awesome, let's jump into it. So CTRM, Castor Maritime, feels like I've been following this stock for a while now. Kind of seen the up and downs for the last 2 and a bit years. But as I mentioned, this is a little bit different. So what George did here is he looked at the Stocktwits and Twitter forums to see what's trending. If you're not familiar with these, obviously Stocktwits is focused on stocks, and Twitter, massive social media platform with a fairly strong FinTwit community. But what George noticed is Stocktwits impressions. So this is the number of people that see a post that tags CTRM, are at about 100,000. Which is decent, I'd say, for CTRM. Typically, for the more popular stocks, we see this in like the 500,000 range. So it's in the lower end. But what's interesting, we saw it kind of pop a little bit today, and we'll jump into that. The other interesting thing to note is who are the kind of the main accounts that are tweeting about CTRM. Obviously, if it's a big account with a large following, the more tweets that have the hashtag CTRM, the more traction it'll get, and the more people that view it, the more people who get excited about the stock, and so on and so forth. So where does this information come from? Well, if we jump to the Utradea social sentiment dashboard, this pulls in real-time data from Twitter and Stocktwits. As you can see, I have CTRM selected right now on the dashboard. We are looking at price and Google Trend over the last 12 hours. So I'm recording this Monday after market close. And as you can see, there's kind of an interesting trend that we saw early in the morning, that being the jump in Google Trends. So this is the number of people that are searching for CTRM. And again, the more people that are searching about the stock, the more people who are interested and excited about CTRM, which is usually a good sign. What we can see is that kind of before market open, a bit of a jump. And this up here, we're seeing around 54. So, it's a fairly significant search trend for CTRM. And this kind of information or an insight is useful because price here, opened at $1.90 a share, ran up to $2.10 a share around noon. So in the morning, there was a lot of people kind of discussing, searching for CTRM. What we can do is look at the impressions. So similarly to Google Trends, we'll just throw it into the bar view. But again, early in the morning, kind of before market opened, we saw a few spikes. So we can actually look at kind of the main accounts that are tweeting about it. So someone who has, let's say, 100,000 followers, they tweet about CTRM. That means, a lot of people are going to see it, as I said. People get a bit more excited about CTRM and potentially would want to invest. And as we saw, a lot of people initiated buys kind of early in the morning, which was, I'd say, the key factor of what drove the price up. Again, it dropped a little bit in the afternoon and leveled out, but overall, a pretty significant jump and trend early in the morning, resulting in some strong price action. And we can actually look at the ticker itself. As I said, CTRM, you can look at it over, all the way to the last 3 months to see how it's been performing. And if we kind of zoom out on a macro perspective, so this is all the way back in January, the price was hovering about $1.20 a share, and then significant interest in CTRM. A lot more people are tweeting and talking about it, which is why we ultimately saw kind of a rising price up to just shy of $1.90 a share. Kind of worked its way along has recently dropped. I mean, this last week hasn't been great for stocks in general, so kind of an overall macro trend. But again, this is a useful way to keep track of what's going on with CTRM if you own it, or if you're thinking of investing or trading. Kind of a great starting place because it gives you that overview. Okay, if we jump over to the stock page itself, I just pulled this up, but you can just jump over like this. And then we have our overview. So as I was mentioning, back in January, we were at about $1.20 a share, maybe a little bit under. Saw a significant run up. Early Feb, it's kind of stabled out, but this type of trend is solid to see if you're a long-term holder of CTRM. I won't dive into it too deep, but essentially, if you want, there's a ton of other things you can look at. Essentially, if you want to look at financials, technicals around CTRM, what's been happening recently, this page has everything you need. One of the more useful things I like to use is obviously news. You should take it with a grain of salt, but news is a great way to kind of keep track of what's going on with CTRM. Interesting, just looking at this quickly now, the enterprise value, so quarter over quarter, has been trending upwards, which again is typically a good sign. This isn't great, seeing the annual, but from 2019 to 2020, but it looks like they're definitely moving in the right direction in the last kind of few quarters. Awesome. So hopefully you guys found this useful. I'll leave the links in the description below. Again, just to reiterate, Social Dashboard allows you to look at CTRM. It gives you that macro view. You can sort on a bunch of different time frames, metrics, follow the trend. Super useful from that perspective. And then the dashboard itself for CTRM if you want to dive into it. So hopefully you found this useful, and happy trading.